Hi guys, here is Dr. Benaduce. Today we'll be talking about joints. The first thing we need to do is to define what a joint is. And a joint is the place where bones join together. And another word for joint is articulation. Now, two bones will never touch one another. And between them, we will find cartilage, we will find ligaments, we find connective tissue connecting two bones. So in a joint, we have a bunch of different types of connective tissue. Joining together, we have bones, we have cartilage, we have ligaments, which are all connective tissue. Now, there are several ways to classify joints. And the first way we will look at is the joint classification based on what we find connecting the bones in that joint. And based on this classification, we have joints that fall into the fibrous category. We have joints that fall into the cartilaginous category, and we have joints that fall into the synovial category. In fibrous joints, we have dense fibrous connective tissue connecting the bones in that joint, specifically dense irregular connective tissue. And in dense irregular connective tissue, the fibers are irregularly arranged, and that makes the tissue strong in all different directions. And that makes fibrous joints very difficult to pull apart. And as a consequence, these fibrous joints are very strong, and they permit very little or no movement between the bones in the joint. And depending if we have a very narrow fibrous joint or we have a wide, large band of fibrous joint between bones, we classify fibrous joints into different types. And we have suture fibrous joint, syndesmosis fibrous joint, and gymphosis fibrous joint. A suture fibrous joint is characterized by a very narrow fibrous connective tissue between the bones in that joint, such as the sutures we have between our cranial bones. A syndesmosis fibrous joint is characterized by a wide fibrous connective tissue between the bones in the joint. And you can see here that we have the example of a syndesmosis fibrous joint found between the ulna bone and the radius bone. And this wide band of connective tissue is specifically named antebrachial interosseous membrane. Interosseous, inter between osseous bone. So it's a membrane between bones. And we have basically the same arrangement when we look at the interosseous membrane between the tibia and the fibula in our leg. Now, the way I like to remember syndesmosis fibrous joint is by remembering desmosomes. Remember desmosomes that we covered in the different types of cell junctions? So desmosomes, they were like button-shaped structures that worked like Velcro. And that is the way a desmosome connects two adjacent cells, two cells that are side by side. So I remember this wide interosseous membrane between two bones as a button-shaped Velcro that is wide, connecting these two bones in the joint. And a button-shaped Velcro is a desmosome. And that's the reference that makes me recall that interosseous membranes are examples of syndesmosis fibrous joints. Gymphosis fibrous joint makes you recall the word gum, and the gymphosis fibrous joint is found deep inside the gum because it is found between the root of the tooth and the bony socket.